I looked at my daughter and I said, "Your brother is dead."
22 people have died and 59 are injured after a suicide bombing at the end of Ariana Grande's gig at Manchester Arena.
I didn't know he was at the concert.
Struggling under the weight of his rucksack bomb, Salman Abedi spent 2 hours around Manchester Arena and adjoining train station before the blast.
And injured hundreds.
Last minute he changed the seat. He was meant to be at the other side of the arena.
Going to the Manchester Arena!
19 seconds after CCTV captured his image, he detonated his device, killing 22 people, his oldest victim 51 years old, his youngest just 8.
My name is Figen Murray. My son Martyn Hett died at the Manchester Arena attack on 22nd of May 2017.
For anyone who doesn't know, who was Martyn Hett?
How do I describe Martyn? Well, he was larger than life. He absolutely loved living. He loved fun. He was incredibly fun to be around, and he was super, super kind. And I'm not just saying that because I'm biased as his mum. He really was genuinely a very kind, decent human being.
In your own words, if you can, what happened that night?
Well, I was fast asleep in bed when the attack happened. I had an early night that night and I didn't know he was at the concert. And yeah, he decided last minute to go to the concert. Last minute he changed the seat. He was meant to be at the other side of the arena. Last minute he swapped tickets with somebody to be with some other friends. So, you know, I could go down the, if only he hadn't, but that's not healthy. So I'm not doing that. But that night, literally everything in our life changed for good.
How did you find out what had happened that night?
So as I said, I was fast asleep, and I'm a light sleeper. Whilst I was asleep, I'm a light sleeper, and I was aware somebody stood next to my bed, and when I opened my eyes, it was one of my daughters checking my phone to see if Martyn had texted or phoned. And when I said, "Why are you doing that? Why would he ring me?" She said, "Oh, he's gone to a gig with his friends and there's been an incident, there's been an explosion." And, you know, we ran both downstairs and we watched the news and checked the internet and kept ringing his 10, 12 friends who were there with him, or they rang us to check if Martyn phoned or not. And then probably about 45 minutes after the attack, I had just this really strange feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I knew in that moment he died, because I suddenly had complete nothingness. It felt like he's not even on the planet anymore. Everything just went. And I looked at my daughter and I said, "Your brother is dead." I just knew.
When you talk about the feelings afterwards, especially if from Manchester myself, it felt like we'd all been attacked. And
Yes.
How can you describe the days after the attack?
Obviously there was a huge feeling of solidarity in Manchester. Like you said, I feel that the whole city felt attacked because the arena is something every Mancunian at some point has visited. It was in the centre, the heart of Manchester. And obviously, you know, the outpouring of love for us families was just incredible. But I personally, the only emotion I have felt since that day and up to the present day and in the future, the only emotion I feel is sadness. That's all I can describe, really, sadness.
Figen has heroically embarked on a walk from the arena in Manchester to Downing Street in order to force the government to pass Martyn's Law, which she says will save lives. She will arrive at the Prime Minister's doorstep on the 7-year anniversary of the attack.
We realised after the attack that there is actually no legislation at all in the UK or anywhere else in the world for that matter to kind of mandate venues to keep their customers and staff safe, and I feel that's wrong.
What is Martyn's Law?
So Martyn's Law basically is asking that venues train their staff in freely available, free of charge, ACT e-learning training, which is a 45-minute interactive e-learning package. We're asking people to do a risk assessment inside and outside the building. Anything they see as a vulnerability during that risk assessment, we're asking people to sort out. We're also asking people to have a counter-terrorism plan, so that people, in case of an attack, know where to go, what to do, where to evacuate, or if in case people are outside, terrorists are outside, where to evacuate. And the final thing is for bigger venues that local authorities work with them. And that's Martyn's Law in a nutshell.
Do you feel like Martyn's Law could have prevented what happened in Manchester that night?
Well, to some degree, yes, because people would have been more aware about terrorism. The staff would have been more aware about hostile reconnaissance, which is what terrorists do. They suss the place out several times. They would have maybe noticed him on the cameras. People would have just known what to do in a terrorist attack as well, and how to evacuate people. So it's really, you know, it would have gone a long way, I would say. Martyn's Law is common sense. We're not asking people to do the earth. You know, there's rules on how many toilets there have to be and how hot the food has to be in canteens at venues. Yet there's nothing for security. So we've been, you know, the attack's going to be 7 years this month. The campaign for Martyn's Law is 5 years now. And we've worked really hard on this campaign. We've worked closely with the Home Office. And the draft bill is ready to go, and the draft bill itself will not do anything. It will not save lives. Once the legislation is in, Martyn's Law will absolutely save lives.
What would Martyn want his legacy to be?
Very clearly, he wouldn't want another family to suffer like ours and all the other families are, because it's when you are sort of affected by terrorism in the way we have, your old life stops that minute and everything is different. You cannot ever go back to that life. Everything has changed and your whole perspective on life has changed. Your priorities have changed. Everything is just different, and it's not in a good way.
It's incredible. You must have, and I think many other people feel that it could just never happen to them, and you're never going to be in that position until it does. And I think everyone's just so inspired by what you've done and the walk that you're going on, and what the work you've done since. And I think he's touched so many people without knowing as well, which is incredibly emotional. What would your final message be to the government?
Have a message to the government and to people in general. The people in general, I would say, please don't ever think this can't happen to you. This is the wrong way of thinking, because terrorism is not like the old IRA terrorism where they used to phone in. Modern terrorism can happen anytime, anywhere, any place. People just get a knife or a car and just attack randomly. So you can't predict it, so everybody is at risk. As for the government, the message is just get it done. You know, stop messing about, get it done. This is important. Get it done before the next attack happens. Because we've had over 40 near misses where attacks were stopped only just before they happened. And the law of averages dictates to me, the way I think, that sooner or later one of these attacks will not be stopped and more families will end up like us.